Whoa! Hey guys, welcome to The Dump. My name is Truktruk, and this is our very first intro to the very first episode. This is definitely not the second take. My name is Truktruk. With me, we have the founder of Ascent Esports, professional level gamer, and a longtime friend, Ma3la, Wyatt.
Yeah,
How's it going, dude?
all true. I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here on the first episode of your new show. It's very appreciated.
For those that don't know, we cut the VOD here, but I kind of had a little bit of a blunder the first time through, like 4 or 5 different audio channels going at once. We are doing this live, so for those listening at home, you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, how's it going, Wyatt? What have you been up to over the past, recently? Let's go recent. What's up, dude?
We'll switch it up on them.
Yeah.
I mean, recently, most of my time has been going into owning and managing Ascent Esports, which is my company that I founded. It's been almost a year, about a year and a half now. Come the end of this summer, it'll be 2 years of its existence. So that's a fair amount of my time. And then playing competitive Fortnite at the moment is another fair amount of my time. And then that's aside from what I do daily. I work as a marketing manager in the medical world. I do that daily. And then I also run like another small business on the side, selling vintage clothes. So I'm staying very busy, but yeah, certainly at the moment, as far as the things on the internet goes, my main focus is on the Fortnite and Ascent.
So you basically just came up with a bunch of great bullet points that we can talk about throughout the rest of the podcast here today. Okay. So to start off, I kind of want to elaborate on Ascent and just building a brand on the internet, because that's not something very many people have done. And over the years, especially that someone that has been involved in like competitive games and like casting and playing myself, there's a lot of sponsors that come and go, and then there's some like Cloud9, any big name like Ninjas in Pajamas, like places, brands that stick around forever, and there's reasons for that. And I think depending on the brand, there's different reasons. Do you have any like broad thoughts on that? On like how to stay relevant?
On how to stay relevant? I mean, well, I think what's interesting about esports brands in this current era, specifically the last couple years, all of the new large brands that are making impact, like NRG and 100 Thieves, they're a little bit different in that 100 Thieves, they have Nadeshot as the face of that brand. Mm-hmm. So he already brings an established value to that brand with his existing fan base. But like NRG kind of came out of nowhere, and then they just had huge investment dollars. And then they had obviously also like the huge investment from Shaq. And then he leveraged all of his fame into trying to pump that up. And it definitely worked at the beginning. Mm-hmm. That brought a lot of attention to their brand. But yeah, I mean, there's the old brands of, like you're mentioning, like Cloud9 and FaZe and NIP and all those that have been around for a long time. And it's because they were here at the beginning. It's because they grew actual fan bases within esports. It's interesting to me why I mentioned NRG and 100 Thieves, because I'm interested to see what happens with teams like that in the next maybe like 3 to 5 years, if they'll actually be able to stay. Like, how much of a real dedicated fan base are they actually growing in esports? Like, how many people are really passionate about? I mean, it depends on what players they get and what teams they get. But I think that's an interesting space, because that's where esports is becoming obviously incredibly corporate at this point. And there's a lot of outside influence money that's been pooling into esports in the past, 3-4 years. And so it's like the grassroots established brands are doing super well, and then they're kind of clashing heads with these, outside corporate dollars of Robert Kraft's mac and cheese money just flooding into the market. So it's kind of those two entities going head to head, those two kind of archetypes.
Yeah, and I'm also very interested to see, especially with like an entirely different world with Overwatch League, with all those other teams, just money flying everywhere. Like, if they stay relevant after Overwatch goes, because that game is not going to last forever. No game lasts forever unless it's Counter-Strike or like Tetris. Like, it really, seriously.
That's a large fact. Name a third, I dare you. No chance.
So it'll be interesting to see how that works. And I think brands like FaZe and maybe 100 Thieves, like any sort of brand that has like a YouTube audience, an Instagram audience, a Twitch audience is going to succeed. And I think the way esports and brands have evolved, instead of just being a logo and like someone that funds these teams to go to places, they're more of like icons, like even fashion statements. I know 100 Thieves like teamed up with Drake for like a clothing line or something.
Well, Drake became a major investor in 100 Thieves, and I mean that certainly adds a level of like the cool factor, I guess. Like that adds a lot of brand value to where they're just seen as cool now. I mean, not that they weren't before; they were already seen as one of the like cooler esports brands. Mm-hmm. But that kind of, doubled that impact.
So how does this relate to Ascent? Like, what are your... So, obviously, you don't have the $1 million to just be like, hey, I'm NRG. Or what was that other team that was founded by another basketball player? It was...
Rick Fox, Echo Fox?
Yeah, Echo Fox. Like, coming out of nowhere, millions of dollars everywhere, bam, this brand's huge. Like, you can't do that. Like, how do you become relevant? Because you obviously have to kind of take the grassroots path if you don't have like a tremendous bag.
Yeah, I mean the thing about NRG and Echo Fox too, I think that they hit the perfect time to try to enter esports, which is it was at the point in time where there was a merger from underground to mainstream for esports. So when a famous name got involved, it was like, holy shit, we're being recognized by mainstream professional athletes, etc. And the excitement of that happening, I mean, that's going to fade with time as more and more people are doing it. Like, I even saw like yesterday, The Weeknd became an investor in the Overwatch Toronto Defiant team.
Really?
Okay. And that has made I feel as though that didn't really have much of an impact. Like, it wasn't really carrying a lot of weight. You didn't really see that around. I mean, you did, but you can taste it in the air when there's like real impact. Like when Shaq was involved with NRG, there was real impact there. But with this, it's kind of whatever to some extent. It's cool. It's great. Good for them. But it just doesn't have that same level of impact, I feel. So they hit this perfect point where it was before it got too corporate and it was cool to see these celebrities involved. But I think as we move towards the future, that's not going to be as interesting for the general esports audience. And I feel that it's going to be tougher for the new teams that are just stacked with money to really make an impact as time goes on. I mean, I think all the existing teams that have been here since the beginning of esports, they're going to be the dominant forces for the foreseeable future. And as far as that relates to Ascent, I mean, I didn't invent mac and cheese. I don't have billions of dollars. In fact, I invested $300 into Ascent, and
what?
That's not a lot. And that was to our first team in TF2 and NA TF2. I think it was in season 23, if I'm not mistaken, or 22. But it was around 2 years ago. Like, that team, they happened to be under contract with a different organization, and we bought them out. And that's my only investment into Ascent. That is monetary. I mean, unless you want to relate time to money. But the rest of it, I've just been putting in time for the past year and a half. And I mean, my main focus is just, I guess, taking it slowly and being patient and trying to grow it over time. Like, I know I don't have the capital to spend compared to these other massive teams. And so I'm just taking it slow, and I'm trying to produce content and support produce content that people are interested in, support the players to the best of our ability. I mean, all the players on our teams, we send them to all the events. and then produce content around them to try to grow their personal brand. And I mean, so far, that's been the most satisfying part, at least for me, really, is like seeing players on Descent who've been with us that didn't start as a big name in whatever the TF2 scene or Quake, and then start to grow. Like that's really been the most satisfying thing for me. But it's really just for me, I'm going the exact opposite direction, somewhat because I have to in pursuit of this, but also it's the direction I really want to go anyway, which is just starting from the bottom and just trying to organically grow, not just throw corporate dollars into the mix.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to actually build a solid fan base. You see many fan bases over the years like essentially turn on what they already follow, but I feel like it's because people get sudden fan bases, and when you develop a fan base, whether it be like a Twitch stream, YouTube, or like obviously with Ascent or like a smaller esports organization, if you do it slowly, gradually, you become more it becomes more personal. It's not necessarily, it's like being like a sports fan. You grow up in the city and it becomes more personal, and time adds to that very much. And I do think, I personally think that these big orgs that spawn out of nowhere are only going to stay relevant as long as they're willing to spend a ton of money. If they don't, I think sponsors like FaZe are going to just dominate, and they still are dominating. Like FaZe has a ton of money, but I think it has a lot to do with how long they've been around and like how much they've developed a fan base. Like people, like kids have grown up watching like FaZe YouTubers, and now they're like adults. Like they're fans of FaZe. They might not even play games anymore, and they're fans of FaZe. So time is a big deal in regards to that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, if anybody wanted to start doing this themselves, as far as creating an esports brand and developing it, you have to have a lot of patience. I've never given myself $1, and I don't expect it to be big for a long time if it gets there. It's a lot of patience, and you don't get it's not like you make a ton of money, actually years. It's satisfying.
All right, we're getting a little bit of a connection issue. We might have to. Are you downloading anything? It's a good freeze frame. It's a good freeze frame, but everything's roboting, and you're just like, you're really looking happy right now. The people that are listening to the podcast probably can't hear this or see this, but they can hear it. But Wyatt is frozen in a state of happiness. Oh, he's back. Now he's taking a sip of water. All right.
Chug.
I'll have to switch Discord server location if that happens again, but it seems like we're fine now. I guess we could transition this topic, or segue this topic a little bit, and kind of like when it's time to like cut a game or move on from a game. Like obviously you can speak on that as a player or as why are people using that command? Come on, I should mute that. My bad. Hold on. I have a thing. In fact, there we go. All right. Hold on. Sorry. I have a little bit of an issue with a command here on my stream. There we go. All right. Cool.
This is the play a random audio file.
I have a play a random audio file. I didn't account for that contingency. But yeah, I'm gonna... I fixed that. So anyway, what we were talking about, that was really distracting. Oh yeah, when it's time to move on to a different game, like for me personally, it's very difficult when you like kind of fall in love with a game and it kind of just goes away, because that's just what happens when you play games, like especially at least online games, multiplayer games. They won't last forever. Like when is it time to move on? You know, so like.
Yeah.
I guess you could speak on that as a player and a sponsor.
Well, I mean, that's that really comes down. Well, that's a question to each individual as to what their ambitions are, really. I mean, if your ambition is you're a player and you're dedicated to acquiring money, you're going to want to move on to whatever game is paying the most that you are willing to play, that is the most popular at the time, unless you're in one of the games that has, a long last, like Counter-Strike or League or something. But I mean, that's one way to go about it. I mean, there's quite a few people who, especially now with how many new games are being released, that are trying to be kind of like shoehorned into being an esport, specifically many of the battle royales. There's a lot of people who are like hopping from game to game, and they're finding success that way and making money as a professional player. But as far as when
I want to interject, because we can this is like a pretty long thought, but there's something I want to interject upon there. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, I've seen a lot of people do that. Like, I've been involved in like competitive scenes pretty much my entire gaming career. I've always thought it like to be very odd to just constantly switch games. Like, you can't, I guess maybe I'm not that eclectic when it comes to games, but like, can you really enjoy playing competitive any game? Like, it doesn't matter. You just want to like get that bag. It just seems like extremely frustrating and difficult.
Well, I think that, that's a good point. I mean, I think, like when I stopped playing TF2, and that was a bit before Overwatch came out, and then or basically at the same time. That's neither here nor there. I started playing Overwatch after I stopped playing TF2, and I played competitive at the beginning of Overwatch for like 3-4 months, and I just didn't like it. It just wasn't for me. It just wasn't very fun, and that was despite having a team that was hilarious, because playing with like the Fragile and Avast, and it was just stupid funny. But like, aside from that, the game was just not fun enough for me to keep playing. I just kept playing because those guys are so funny. We're having a good time, and like just playing for the prospect of, maybe we'll get some kind of sponsorship and get a salary or whatever. The Overwatch League wasn't really a thing at that time. It was more of just like every sponsor on the planet at that time was picking up anybody, even if they've just picked up a mouse for the first time and they were silver ranked in Overwatch. They were getting paid $1,000 a month to play and get 84th in the tournament. It was ridiculous. Everybody was getting sponsored. Everybody was getting money. It was a ridiculous era. But that's what happens when any new game comes out. Every sponsor just tries to pick up like someone who might blow up. They just get any random dude. But regardless, I mean, for me, I'd stopped playing because like the money, the prospect of getting paid from that wasn't worth the dread of playing Reinhardt for 5 hours every day of my life. It's you weigh the scales, and Reinhardt's a thick boy, and it didn't add up for me.
I do remember, like, you just like, for those that don't know, we like hang out fairly often, a couple times a month, and I remember you like just freaking out like at the prospect of just like going to home and playing more Reinhardts, sometimes you played Winston, because I don't know much about Overwatch, but essentially you have like roles, and you were like the initiator role or something, so you have, at the time, you had like Winston and Reinhardt, and both characters in that game. I personally, I mean, I've played Overwatch a little bit. Those might be the most boring characters in the entire game. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know how people do that. Like, cause like you hit a point where you quit, but some people like, they're getting paid and they still quit. Like, that's how excruciating some games are. I'm not talking about like Overwatch, but like, I just feel like if you play so much of one game, it just becomes like worse than a job. It's not a game anymore. It's high pressure. It's just high pressure when you're trying to like spend your free time. Like, you work all day, then you come home and play competitive games. It's just like, how do you handle that amount of stress? I don't know.
I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's like where you get no emotional reward in any way. You don't feel satisfied after like that. The money from that can be temporarily satisfying, but you're not actually being satisfied on a mental level from holding right click and having your shield out for 5 hours. That's just not, your brain isn't thanking you for that at any point. But yeah, I mean, that's real. Well, I truly believe as well that there's no way you can be great at a thing that you don't like. Like, I think all the people who are really good at other games that thought, because we all remember the, like, I mean, it was what I was just saying. There was this Overwatch gold rush. Everybody who was decent at anything was running into Overwatch trying to acquire crazy amounts of money. And because the money was there. And so everybody did it. But there were so many people doing it just for the money. And I don't think any of those people have lasted. I don't think any of those people made it to the top. And if they did, maybe it's like 1 out of 1,000 who really just wants the money that badly that they'll sacrifice doing something. They are sacrificing the opportunity to do something they enjoy with the time that they're now spending playing Reinhardt to get money. And yeah, I just don't think that you could be a truly great top tier Overwatch player or any player or really anything if you don't actually like it and you're just doing it to try to get a salary from whatever, the Washington Justice.
Well, I guess you could put a magnifying glass over a few of those statements and just put the word Fortnite on it, because I feel like Fortnite, when it comes to competitive and like money and sponsors, it's like, oh my God, look at all these millionaire 16-year-olds running around across the internet doing the freaking default dance. Yeah. Like doing 90s or whatever you do in that game. It's actually insane. Like, I think Fortnite kind of brought that kind of mindset to the entire world. Like, so many people, everybody knows someone that has grinded Fortnite or is still playing Fortnite and, trying to get the money right now. Like this 2019, they're how much money are they giving away in prizes
this weekend? We're recording this on the 11th. This weekend, April 13th, it's the first week of the World Cup, which for 10 weeks straight there's $1 million prize pool tournaments, and if you place top 3 in one of the tournaments, you go to the World Cup, which has the $30 million prize pool, which I believe is the biggest prize pool in esports history.
That's insane.
Yeah, so and Fortnite is legitimately a absolute great and so bad competitive game. It is so good and so bad at the same time. It's astounding how good the game is and how awful the game is at the same time. And there's a lot of that still rings true for Fortnite. But then, a lot of like you mentioned, the kids playing it though, and like the teenagers, to be more specific, that are playing it, that are really good at it. I think those are the people that like really just really love the game and love competing in the game. More so, I think the people that play for money are always older, in my opinion. That's what I've noticed.
Absolutely.
It's always the older people that are still playing games that are like, God damn it, I missed my opportunity. I was 40 when I was playing Quake in 1995, and I gotta get this goddamn Fortnite money. And it doesn't really work out. It's the kids, the kids. I'm a kid. It's the teenagers that love playing the games for the, like, I remember when I was playing TF2 in high school, and like trying to get good at TF2, I was playing like 7 hours a day plus. Stupid amounts of hours in an MGE server or DM or TLR's rocket shooting map, just airshotting bots. I would airshot bots. Okay, I would scrim. When I was like 15 and I was playing TF2, I would get home from school. I would eat dinner. I would play MG until scrim time, or like MG DM till scrim time. Then I would scrim from whatever, it's like 10 to 12. And then I would airshot bots on TLR's airshot bot map for like 2 hours after that. I mean, and that's because I just loved playing the game and I wanted to be the best so bad. And when you're 16, it's like, this is the only thing that matters in the world. I don't have a car or bills. So, and I just loved the game. And I think that kind of translates to the people who were my age then, or rather the people who were my age now playing Fortnite. When I was 16, these 16-year-olds, they're the same. I feel like they just love the game.
And I completely agree. And the interesting thing is that it's not, I feel like Fortnite is not the only thing that matters to them nowadays, because when you were younger, and when I was younger, we didn't have like Instagram, like YouTube and Twitch. Like, you have these kids that want to like not only be really good, but they also want to be super popular, which is also an interesting dynamic towards like gaming and just building clout. Like, everybody wants that clout. Like in Overwatch, like in Overwatch, it kind of was like that, you know, with all the sponsors and people like trying to like stream and be like, oh, I'm the best player. But with games like Fortnite, and I feel like Fortnite is still kind of like the biggest for that, because even with Apex Legends, I just don't feel like that has as young of an audience still, even though it's probably around as popular now. Maybe, I don't know.
Apex is not as popular as Fortnite. I mean, Apex peaked and has dove and is diving, but sorry, what was the question?
Well, it wasn't necessarily a question. It was just a comment on like how things have changed over the years. You know how you were saying, like, basically boomers like that still play like for the money. Like, oh, I want to get the money. Like, the kids are mostly playing for like, I want to be the best and I want to grow my Instagram. Like, people have their Instagram like Homer Simpson 123, and it's just like a 12-year-old, and it has like a picture of doing like his 90s. Doing his 90s, and he's like the best player in the freaking world. Like, all he wants is Instagram followers and to be the best Fortnite player in the world. So
I mean, that's definitely a factor. I mean, we are at the so far, at least, we are at the pinnacle of mainstream attention for gaming. There's a lot of attention to be gained from being good at gaming, specifically Fortnite, at this moment in time. Or really, to some extent, that time is kind of past, I think. I think we're a little bit past that. It's obviously still the biggest game in the world, and there's still a lot of attention there, but it's not like it was maybe 8 months ago, 10 months ago or so. Like, middle of last year, it was just ridiculous.
At this point, the biggest game ever.
Yeah, at this point, it's cooled off to only just being like the biggest game still, but not like the biggest game by an insane margin. Now it's still the biggest game, but it's, I mean, that's certainly part of it too. Yeah, there's, Ninja has like 15 million followers, I think, on Instagram, something like that. I mean, like, a lot of the top pros all have several millions of followers on Twitch and all other social media platforms. I mean, if you play your cards right with that, I mean, you can easily be set for life. Your kids can be set for life based on Fortnite and what happened in Fortnite in the past year, if they, play it intelligently.
So when it comes to the next big game, are you going to be, how do you like look at new games through the eyes of like being a sponsor? Because obviously you have a budget. You can't just be like, I'm going to throw money here, I'm going to throw money there, I'm going to sponsor like 500 Fortnite players or whatever the new game is. Like, what do you do? Because there's a lot of cool games that have come out, but you don't really know how long they're going to last. And I think probably the most recent competitive game to release is Smash Brothers, the new Smash. Like, with the next game, like, are you scouting potential new releases, or how do you approach stuff like that?
I mean, I'm always looking at that. I know it's maybe to some people who are listening, it might sound odd, considering at the moment we're only in TF2 and Quake Champions, which, I mean, nothing was really happening in Quake Champions until later this year, like the second half of the year. It's the scene. There's just no tournaments happening. But yeah, I mean, I look at every game, and I've talked to teams and players from just about every game under the sun. I'm just, I'm truly being as patient as possible, really waiting for the right opportunity. I mean, one of the ways that a lot of the brands go about it at this point is because they have so much money to spend. When a new game, like specifically, I think Apex is, I don't even know if there's a competitive scene for Apex yet, really. There's like a few of those, in Battle Royales, they do those tournaments where you like race to get the most kills versus another squad. They have those, but I don't believe they've had any actual tournaments yet of like pros versus pros. Yet there's tons and tons of players getting sponsored because everybody wants to have, like, NRG hit the gold mine with that guy Dizzy. Like, he's the Apex guy, and everybody else is trying to run in and like try to find the next Dizzy in Apex. And so many players got picked up within the first few weeks. I don't know how much. I know some of them. I mean, I don't know how much all of them are getting paid, obviously, but I know some of them are getting paid exorbitant amounts of money to play a game that has gone from, you know, the top of Twitch to it is not particular. I mean, it's huge, but it dropped a whole lot in its attention and impact.
Yeah, it needs to establish a competitive scene for it to last. I feel like that's how Fortnite, at least as far as like Battle Royale Fortnite is concerned. I think Fortnite still would be popular if it died off. But I think the reason Battle Royale still exists and is still played is because it's competitive, instead of just dying off like games like H1Z1 and PUBG.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the nature of battle royales. They just seem, I mean, they come and go, except for Fortnite, which I don't think will leave anytime soon, just on account of it being so different than every other battle royale. I mean, there's a lot more similarity in the three other games you just mentioned than Fortnite is just wildly different. And that's why it's actually, I think, going to stay for at least another year, most likely, is the top game, at least. Unless, I mean, you never know as far as this battle royale thing goes. I mean, you never know which new battle royale will come out next, drop however many millions to have every top streamer play it, and then maybe that's the one that beats Fortnite. I just don't really see it, though. Like, I think, because it would have to be something original at this point, though, because Apex was the Apex, no pun intended, but pun sort of intended, of like that genre of battle royale. Seriously, though, like that was the pinnacle of, I don't know how you could get better. The game was smooth, the mechanics were smooth, everything about it was super polished. They had classes. There was a little enough of it that was more different than Blackout, which hey, remember when Blackout came out, Battle Royale? Boy, that was fun for one day, and it's gone. No one cares. Like, nobody, it's funny that when people talk about Battle Royales, they don't even, like, mention that. They mention H1Z1, PUBG, and Apex. Like, Blackout didn't even happen. It just kind of is gone.
It really was popular for, like, I want to say, like, 3 months. And I think I don't know why people stopped playing it. I guess it just didn't have much flavor other than it was just faster than PUBG, and it probably gave you more FPS, whereas Apex Legends gives you the classes and it gives you the movement mechanics with the sliding and the grappling, and some of the classes have built-in movement mechanics, which is pretty cool. But I personally think that Battle Royale's done. I don't think it's, I think Apex Legends is the last one that's going to be at all big. And I do think Fortnite will die off as soon as the money runs dry, mostly because you don't have the intro stage of like the Battle Royale where everyone's playing it. Freaking all the rappers are playing it on Instagram and stuff. And like you run into a game and you can just trap people in boxes because they don't know how to move. Like, that is just a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I'm glad I lived it. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell my grandchildren about it. But like, I think when it comes to a game like Fortnite and it being competitive, for me that has never been that good at the game. I will never want to load it up and play it. And I feel like little kids, the people that are, I wouldn't say little kids, younger teenagers that are generally like the competitive players, like where you're born as a competitive player, they're going to go from playground mode or Minecraft or something, load up Fortnite, play one game of Battle Royale, and it's just going to be like complete nonsense. Like, they won't be able to get a kill as much as they try because the game is so established. And I think that's the problem with a lot of competitive games, or not necessarily competitive games, Battle Royales, is that once the player base the player base basically grows in skill level, whereas a game like Counter-Strike, you have a ranking system. Like Dota, you have a ranking system. So if you're brand new, you're going to be playing with a bunch of brand new people. But in a battle royale game, you can't do that because there's way too many players to have like a ranking system in a regular queue, or at least a very accurate one. So I don't think battle royale is going to last too much longer beyond Fortnite and whatever Apex Legends does. I think I personally think that MMOs are probably going to get popular again, especially with WoW Classic coming out. I don't know how that relates to sponsors at all, but I do think that's going to be the next wave of games.
Well, I mean, it does in that, like, as far as having streamers, I mean, half of, I mean, a part of that is not just having professional esport. Well, it depends on how you want to take it, but there are, there's the phases of the world who are, they have like streamer entertainers. Like they're almost more of like they're like esports and also like lifestyle brand type thing, like vlogs and streamers and that kind of thing. So I mean, there's different directions you can take that. Yeah, I don't see battle royales. I don't see what they could do next. The only battle royale that could come next that could work is something that we can't think of, that some, big brain developer with some crazy idea is cooking up in the lab right now, because it can't be anything we thought. Like nobody would have thought of a battle royale where you're building walls and doing 90s and like build battling each other. Like nobody thought of that. It was an accident. That was an accident. And like the other games, I mean, that's really why Fortnite is so good. Totally. They didn't plan it at all. There's no way, based on how the updates that Epic does to Fortnite, there's no way they planned on Fortnite existing past to save the world as a battle royale. There's no way they conceived it would be that good. There's just no way. It was a total accident. So, and all the planned battle royales where, they have the think tank in the office with the boardroom trying to come up with like, okay, Blackout didn't work, but how do we make it like classes? Cool. It's like Overwatch or whatever. And Naruto girl runs around. I don't know. It's
put like, Reinhardt in the game. That'd be sick.
Like that's the best that like the game developer think tank can bring to the table when they're trying to make the new battle royale. Is just, let's take this little thing from this other game and like it just, there's nothing interesting there anymore. It's all been done. I don't see where they could take that next. I don't see it. I don't see like, and then people joke about like the battle royale underwater, but it's also like then a battle royale in the sky. It's like, yeah, they're really trying that, because that's, nobody has. There's not. I just don't see where the original idea lies. Though, I mean, I guess you wouldn't. That's what I'm saying, though. It would have to be something totally original that no one would see coming. Some crazy, interesting mechanic, like building that makes the game different. I just don't see that happening, though.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think it comes to a good segue to the next topic, is like when to move on. I think we mentioned it earlier, but not really elaborated on it. But like, when do you move on from Fortnite? For you, obviously you play Fortnite. You actually just won like $200 last weekend.
Yeah, I mean,
which is pretty cool.
I've had a few good placements in like North America.
But like, when do you move on as a player?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've been practicing to play this World Cup thing because, I mean, if you know me, I don't even like video games. I don't even like them. I don't even play them. I don't even play video games. I played TF2 for a while, and I played some CSGO, and I played Fortnite. And I've tried a billion other ones for 5 minutes or less and stopped. I barely play any games at all. But the ones I do play, I play a lot. I just have a very, I guess, like particular taste in what games I'm playing. So yeah, I mean, for Fortnite, for me, I mean, I'm going to play out this World Cup and see what happens. I mean, that's what I've been practicing for. And then past that, I mean, I don't really know. It depends on if I still enjoy it. That's
yeah.
Really
so like, I guess a better way of phrasing it is like, so the games you have quit, like what caused you to like move on? Because I'm surprised how long I stuck with TF2, like not even just competitive, just playing the game. Like the game is fantastic. It'll probably be my favorite game ever. But like, there's so like, I guess for me, I found that I liked a lot of different games, but for you, it's a little bit more narrow. Yeah. What caused you to quit the game? Like, I think you just quit the game completely and didn't transfer to a different one, right?
Well, TF2 I stopped playing, and then about maybe a month or so after I stopped playing, I decided to give over. That's when I decided to give to try. Played Overwatch for 3-4 months, and then quit that. And then I didn't really play anything for like a year and a half. I just didn't. There's just no games I really wanted to play. The only thing I played then, I played like CS once in a while, just like CS:GO, because I love playing DM servers. So I would just like play CS DM once in a while, or like CS:GO pubs. That was really all I played, just like maybe once every couple weeks or something. And then I played PUBG a bit, and then that was when I started thinking about going back, and because Ascent was just the name of our TF2 team for a long time, and I had thought about just kind of for fun and just seeing where I could take it, starting that as an actual esports company brand. And I started thinking about that, and then the day after, I had gotten a message from Rando because he was still playing, and they needed a soldier on their team. It was like mid-season, and he asked me if I wanted to play, and I just the day before was thinking about the Ascent thing, and I was like, okay. You're like, sure, this lines up. I'll come back. I'll make this Ascent thing, and let's just see what happens. But yeah, and then I played TF2 for another couple seasons. But I kind of got burnt out quickly because I played TF2 for so many years, so long, and I love it, but I am burnt out on it. But I mean, that's what happens when you start playing at like 13 and you're like 21 or 2.
I'm curious.
Crazy.
I wonder if that's going to happen the same way with a lot of people that play Fortnite right now. Like you see like the little kid that can barely like have the headset stay on its head because its head's so small. Like if he's going to grow up into an adult and still play Fortnite when there's like 200 people playing. You never know.
Yeah. It's kind of weird to think about how many people are still playing TF2 though, compared to I wonder how many people will still be playing Fortnite in 10 years. I bet less people will be playing Fortnite in 10 years than will be playing that.
Oh yeah, like TF2 is still a really popular game.
Yeah.
It's probably the best free to play. I mean, it's not the best free to play game anymore, but it's one of the best free to play games. There's not many good free to play games, and TF2 is absolutely up there as one of the better ones. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, but yeah, so and then I played that for those couple seasons of TF2, and then it was just I'm burnt out. I mean, really, every time I've stopped playing something, it's because I was not enjoying it anymore. And with the Overwatch thing, sometimes I kind of regret it, but I never regret quitting Overwatch from a personal standpoint, from the enjoyment standpoint. Was I actually having fun, like that kind of thing? I don't regret that at all. Quitting, like sometimes I regret kind of like quitting because of like, ooh, what about the potential success? But then I think about it, it's like I don't even think I would have had success. I didn't even like it. So I'm glad that I quit that when I did. And then, I stopped playing stuff for a while again. And then I started playing Fortnite I started playing at the beginning of season 4, which was, I think, around this time last year, a little bit, maybe like in like a month or two, might've been like around June. I can't really remember. But I've been playing Fortnite for like maybe 8 months now or something like that. And competitive for the last 3, 4. So.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and disagree on what you said earlier. Now that I've thought about it, it's you saying that you don't play games. I would have to say, from knowing you for about like 5 years, you play one game. You don't play games. You play one game because you mentioned that, and you completely neglected the point in time where you were like freaking out over PUBG. You were playing so much PUBG, and your computer could barely run the game. I remember you tried streaming the game, and you're just like stuck in a wall. Like somehow
the map didn't load. I was there
managed
for
that
minutes,
and
minutes. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people go that route, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think the only thing that it's important to recognize is when you are no longer having fun. unless you are getting compensated in some way. Like if you're like a streamer that has like 5,000 viewers, if you're not having fun anymore, you might need to suck it up a little bit while you like plan like your next route, your next move for your stream. You can't just like stop streaming. I mean, I don't think so, at least.
I love so much the success, I don't know, like minor setback for major comeback Summit story, like how he was losing his mind trying to play games he didn't like because he wanted to, it seemed like, at least like he wanted to remain at like the top of the Twitch ladder, and he wanted to do it by playing Fortnite, playing the popular things, even though he didn't like it and he wasn't having fun, and he broke his monitor and shit. Like
this is one of the funniest clips you can see on all of Twitch. Oh my god.
And then he stopped playing that to play things that he enjoyed. And I remember watching, like I was watching him play single player games like Tomb Raider and shit like that. And he was just playing whenever he wanted, and he didn't have as many viewers. And then when he started playing Sea of Thieves and he was having fun, he was like the top channel on Twitch, or most subbed for whatever at the beginning of this year at some point. Like that, the idea of what happened for him there, of like abandoning the thing that you don't want to do, but it's like he saw everyone else doing it and working for them, so it had to work for him even though he didn't enjoy it, and then doing what he really wanted to do and finding the most success from that. Like that right there is I think that's a very impactful kind of like moment on Twitch. But like that's kind of I feel like that should be an impactful sentiment, I think, in everyone's mind to some extent.
Absolutely. Like I think there's levels to that, because I kind of taken a similar route. Like I was only playing TF2, love the game, but the game is very hard to stream for a multitude of reasons that I don't really want to talk about right now. But I found that I liked other games, and you obviously take a hit in viewership, but you gain satisfaction of playing something new, trying something new, meeting more people outside of like one specific community in the corner of the internet. And I mean, to a much larger scale, that's what Summit did. And I think you can do that in just any form of life. Like when it comes to just like your job, you know, obviously you have to be smart about it. You can't just like, I'm gonna quit my job and start a blog. Like you can't really do that, but you can kind of figure out how to get to the point where you want to be, or get away from where you don't want to be, where you are right now. And I do like that very much. And I honestly didn't notice that until you brought it up with Summit. Yeah, like he pretty much right after he smashed his monitor from playing like H1Z1 or something. He was like probably within the months after that, he just turned off the I want to please everybody switch and just kind of went for his own thing. And I think a lot of streamers should take after that, and a lot of people we know took after that. Like a good example is Tag. We're good friends with him, and he kind of just went from streaming TF2 to like streaming anything that he wants, and his stream is extremely successful. And you've seen different routes with other streamers where they're kind of like stuck in one game, and then they switch to another game that they really like. Not necessarily like becoming extremely eclectic, but kind of going like your route. Like, I like this game, I've played it for many years, but I need to stop and try something new. A few of our friends have done that and been very successful as well, whether it be in-game or on Twitch.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the kind of thing I try to just keep that in mind all the time. That the idea there of Summit's kind of path there, and that's kind of relates to what I was saying too about the Overwatch thing. It just wasn't for me, and I could have been blind to that fact and just chased the money in that situation. And sometimes, and like after I quit, months after that, I regretted it. And then as time went on, though, I realized like, no, that's not the path for me. And I just, you got to figure out your own thing. But it's very tempting, especially I think it's really esports and Twitch. It's a platform, I think, that really convinces people of what they should be doing, because you're always compared. You see everyone's numbers next to you and that kind of thing. And I think it does a a disservice in convincing you that you should be doing things that you really shouldn't be. Like, I don't know, what do you want to be? The like 40th biggest, or like maybe the 200th biggest streamer in Fortnite is maybe the same size streamer as the biggest streamer in, you know, NHL 2016 or whatever. But like, if you love playing NHL 2016 and you can make like whatever, like $2,000 a month on it, like fuck it, dude, just play that NHL, man.
Yeah, you know what, there are parts, there's ways to develop your stream, and it's pretty cool. Like and I think that that applies just in so many different ways. Like, if you feel restricted, a lot of the reason you are restricted is because you are doing it to yourself, especially when it comes to video games and like Twitch. Like, maybe in other scenarios in real life, you don't have much of a choice, but when it comes to Twitch and just playing games, it is amazing how hard it is to get out of that mindset where like, I have to do this because I'm good at it. And I guess, I mean, for me, I just didn't feel like I would possibly be entertaining or good at any other broadcast. And I would say everybody finds out that you just develop as a person when you make those moves, when you make changes and expose yourself to different environments and different audiences and different games. And it's very good and very healthy.
Yeah. I mean, it can be tough. Like, everything about as I was saying, like online streaming or producing content, whatever, it's all the visible numbers everywhere, and it's tough. Like, like sometimes like when I stream or had streamed, like when I was streaming in the past, that thing, like when I was streaming many years ago, I was getting what I feel like now, I was getting way more viewers than I deserve. Like, how stupid I was at the time. Like, I look back, I'm like, boy, it's like 17, a total moron, and I was getting hundreds of viewers, and now like it's like 5 years in the future, and I feel like I'm like funnier and like not as stupid and probably a better streamer. But you get less, or I get less based on whatever. I take all this time off. I'm playing different games, different things, and like, I don't know. You have to, I guess, in this world of online content production with numbers, you have to learn to not let the numbers affect you.
Oh yeah.
Because when you get too focused on that, that's what also will make your mentality suffer. And then once your mentality is suffering, it's not like you're going to be producing your quality works. You're not going to be funny on stream. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to be that's when you're going to punch your monitor on live on Twitch in front of the masses.
So do you plan on streaming again? Because
No.
I know you've been...
No, maybe. I don't know.
Well, because like, I do personally think you're a very good streamer. Obviously, I'm biased because we're friends, but like, you were streaming a game that was just like flooded with other streamers, and you aren't like freaking Ninja. You know what I mean? You're not...
Oh yeah. I mean,
you didn't get... I feel like when it comes to like really big games, you kind of have to catch a big break, like being like the first good player. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what happened with a Myth, right? Like, he was like the first player. It's like, holy crap, you can build like crazy in this game. Nowadays, I don't think he's considered to be like one of the better players, but he like got his audience from being the first person to like be good at building in that game.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to brand new games, it's important to give them a try. So I do feel like someone like you that is just generally good at at least shooter games, I think it's probably worth trying like new games, at least streaming new games, because you never know. Like, you might have that part of your brain that unlocks before everybody else's, and you might be able to cash in on it with a bunch of viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but I'm at a place personally with this stuff where I really don't. I like streaming to not necessarily like a ton of people. Like, I like having whatever, like 50 people, and we're kind of just chilling. I'm not really concerned about my own personal like my own personal, I guess, clout or whatever, whatever you want to call it. I don't that like I used to be, and I really am not anymore. I mean, I've found the most satisfaction in this space of creating content, not when I was like, for all the years I did things trying to push myself, but the most satisfaction I get now and what I love doing is seeing, like, we had like when I started Ascent, we had just the NA TF2 team, and then about a month after we got our European TF2 team, and we had Kradu on it. And at the time, he was pretty much an unknown entity in the TF2 scene. And he's been with us now for a year and a half. We've just had him on every single team that we've had. And over that year and a half, he has significantly improved as a player and everything. But like, also just watching his presence in, albeit, you know, whatever, it's a TF2 scene. It's not the biggest gaming scene in the world, but like being a part of his growth as an entity in that scene, that brings me far more satisfaction than whatever, getting more viewers on my own stream. And I feel the same way with like one of our Quake players, Cygib, like watching him grow in that scene. And yeah, I mean, that's really what I want to do at this point. I want to just focus on building Ascent and then using that to grow these like hidden gems, like
grow a like, instead of just being like a logo and with attached to like a huge amount of money, it's more of like a community that everybody likes because of like the stories behind it and how people have grown.
Yeah,
is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a part. And yeah, like, and I'm saying too, on just like on the, yeah, I prefer to, I guess, like, help I found that I prefer to help other people on their path more so than try to get my own clout popping on the internet. Like, I'm cool on that. Like, I like doing what I'm doing with Ascent right now. That's what's really brought me the most satisfaction. So if I get a bunch of viewers or something on my stream, like, that's cool and I'm happy for it. But that's just not my concern anymore. That used to be my concern, and I used to be doing stupid shit on stream. And now it's not my concern, and I still do stupid shit on stream sometimes, but not as much. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how I view my stream and just streaming in general as well. Like, it would be cool to get like a huge influx of viewers. Like, obviously with that comes, you know, money's cool, but at the same time, it gives you an inorganic audience that doesn't know you very well and might not treat you the way that you want to be treated because you're just the guy that everybody watches. Whereas if you build your audience in any platform slowly, organically, people kind of know you and understand what you like from them, because it's kind of like a two-way street. It's not necessarily like you talking to other people. It's more of like an interaction. Like, even beyond that, like with a esports org, you have people talking to you on Twitter, email, messaging you. Like, when you stream, it's more of a conversation than a one-way street. It's not like a business, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, that's really that's really the goal at the end of the day, is to just grow Ascent with people who like Ascent. I mean, that sounds very simple, but that's really what it is. I just want to grow with people that like what we're doing, and are, you know, and I think, and hopefully my end goal is, or like part of my goal is, you know, if one day we're much larger, I want people who were around for like right now, that were here for like these small games, like that were from TF2 and that kind of thing, to be able to think about now and the fact that they were here at this moment in the future. If whatever, we have like a you know, like a dream of mine would be to have like a sticker in CSGO. Like, if that moment comes, that there are people now who are around now that can say like, holy shit, I've been here since, you know, day one effectively, and was a part of seeing it grow to this point. That's where I'm hoping to take it in my mind, at least.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not necessarily like it's an admirable goal and it's a achievable goal. It's not like I hope I win the lottery and then I can spend all the money and build a team.
Yeah.
It's more of something that you actually can influence and work on over time, and I do think that it will have some success in the future. I'm obviously more than willing to help out, and I know a lot of people watching and listening right now are very familiar with you and your brand, and we're all rooting for you in regards to that. And it would be so cool to have a CS:GO sticker. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
That would. Yeah, that's definitely that's one of the like the North Stars in my mind, I guess, for that.
I think with that, we probably should wrap it up. But before we go, do you have any like shout outs or anything you want to like mention before we shut it down?
Boy, anything. I'm trying to get a plug off right now. I'm trying to think. Well, shout out to everybody that works with me on Ascent. I would be absolutely nowhere without Uber Chain, and all the other great people who work with me. And aside from that, no, I mean, we just, we got stuff cooking up. We got, we got the official jersey coming soon. We've been in the lab hard at work with that one, and it's finally going to be released within the next few weeks. So that's one small thing to look forward to. But other than that, no, I mean, I just, thank you for having me here on the first episode of your new show. It is appreciated. It's been fun. Of course, I wish you all the success. And that's it. I got no more shout-outs.
Well, that's been The Jump, episode 1. I don't know why. You know what? The reason I called it The Dump is because I'm like, my name's Truk. What would be a good podcast name? So I'm like, The Dump Truck, whatever. Here we are. I mean, I have to stick with it.
Yeah.
We're at episode 1. I mean, I like trying new stuff. I don't know if people found this entertaining at all, but I'm going to stick with it, grow it, just like you're doing with Ascent. And you know what? We'll find success one day.
Tell him, King.
That's so sad sounding. All right. We'll leave you on that note, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back soon with another guest. It's going to be Wyatt next week again.
I can't book anyone else. Shit.